Well, guess what, everyone? I am turning 30 this month. That's right, I'm officially old now. Even this channel is turning ancient. Look at that, June 2008. 18 years. This channel is old enough to drink, so when you have a YouTube channel for 18 years, then you can be just like me, a true OG. But jolly japes aside, I thought it would be neat to look back on one of the most famous kids TV channels from our youths. Yes, I've extolled the virtues of Cartoon Network, but CBBC was one of the very few channels that was completely free. No subscriptions or anything. It even started as a block on BBC One way back in the 80s as children's BBC, usually every morning before and after school. And for those of you glued to your smartphones right now, that really was the norm back then. You'd get up first thing in the morning and flick on CBBC while having your Cocoa Pops. Or if you were me, you sat through 2 hours of pages from CFAX first. Then, when you get home from school, CBBC would already be on, because your mum knew exactly what you wanted to watch while she was making peanut butter sandwiches in the kitchen. Yummy yum. But eventually, as the TV landscape developed through the 90s, and content splintered into tons of different channels, CBBC became its own dedicated channel in February 2002. It still existed as a block before and after school, but now CBBC owned your attention from 7 in the morning until 7 in the evening, when it would shut down to make way for BBC Three, or BBC Choice for my old posse out there. Now, when I was young, CBBC always looked like this, with green microscopic blobs floating in Osmosis Jones land, and they kept things consistent by also using them for the younger kids channel CBeebies. Actually, they kept using the blobs for CBeebies way up until 2023, because they knew anything else would suck. And it did. But as for CBBC, they changed the brand identity in late 2007, making it much more anarchic. I never liked it as much, but that's just inertia for you. It still worked fine. But then in 2016, they changed the logo to... what even is this? Okay, by that time I'd long since stopped watching CBBC, but we're here to talk about the golden age. And when I was younger, CBBC had some of the best shows around, and also not some of the best around. So grab your bowl of Cocoa Pops and get ready for my personal favourite, CBBC memories. Let's start off with CBBC's factual entertainment. Yes, believe it or not, sometimes facts can be entertaining. Just to get straight to the big elephant in the room, we'll begin with Blue Peter, the longest running kids TV show in the entire planet. And I did not watch it. Nope, I wasn't into the show as a kid. I didn't even know what it was. I thought it was some comedy show about a blue guy called Peter, which tells you what type of child I was. In reality, Blue Peter is the ship on the logo, and this show has run all the way from 1958 to the present day. But on the rare occasion I did catch a glimpse of this show, I could never get into it. It was one of those magazine-type shows where they had all kinds of different features, interviews, competitions, and whatnot. Some of the competitions were fun, like winning some Nintendo DS games or a Robo Sapien. I always wanted one of those. Strangely, the show is way more interesting when you're older, and some of the features are quite fascinating, like learning how an astronaut lives in space, or how wellies are made. Well, I think it's fun.
The rubber can be dyed any colour. Today it's green. It's softened up before heading off to be rolled out.
Sometimes they'd also run charity appeals, like you could donate your shoes to help troubled kids in Africa. A very good cause. And the use of the contemporary music here was so CBBC.
We're your Wellies Days on Friday the 1st of December, and it's all for our Shoebiz appeal.
That's this Friday, and you can still get involved. Ask your teacher or club leader if you can take part. All the details are on the website.
The holy grail for this show was getting a Blue Peter badge, which would only be awarded for doing something spectacular, like, you know, recycling and stuff. I never had a chance of getting one as a kid because, well, I didn't watch the show. That's my excuse. But one thing I do recall is when they would do a lot of Doctor Who stuff, like this competition to design a monster that they would actually put into the show.
They're going to come down to the Doctor Who studios, they're going to see the monster being made, they're going to come on set, they're going to meet me and Billy and everyone else, and they're going to be on set with their creature when it appears in the show.
Who is it?
It is William from
That must have been amazing, but I feel bad for the kid who won. He put all his effort and imagination into designing this monster, and they produced it into a story where Peter Kay is running around Cardiff, chasing people like an episode of Benny Hill. Not your fault, boy. I watched this show a lot when it first came out in 2006. It was a documentary series all about the animals at a nature park, although it was really just an excuse to look at some cute animals. Look at the monkey spin. Sometimes they'd even do bad animal jokes, like terrible knock-knock stuff.
What do you call a sleeping bull? A bulldozer.
Oh, beautiful. But it wasn't all happy-go-lucky. Sometimes there'd be some depressing animal sob stories, like this rhino at death's door.
A swelling or abscess like this is extremely dangerous. It's filled with poisonous pus, and if it gets into Gareth's bloodstream, the infection could kill him.
It breaks your heart, man. This whole show was basically one big school trip to the zoo, without the long coach journeys and the packed lunch. News Round. This was CBBC's version of the news, usually focusing on things like movies, celebrities, and that kind of pop culture stuff.
Doctor Who, it was one of last year's biggest TV shows, but lead actor Christopher Eccleston quit and was replaced by David Tennant. So, will fans still watching their millions now there's a new Doctor?
But when they were serious stories, it was amusing to see them trying to address things in a kid-friendly way, like when Steve Irwin died.
He always said he knew exactly what he was doing, but last night his luck ran out. Steve was stung by a stingray.
This was upsetting even though I didn't know who Steve Irwin was at the time. My mum had to explain who he was for like 5 minutes.
With hundreds of millions of fans worldwide, this animal lover will be greatly missed.
The most fun thing about News Run was the intro, with flying Smarties floating through an air vent. Doesn't get more abstract than that. Serious, wherever they were. Yeah, this was a survival show about kids being placed in hellishly difficult locations around the world. I didn't watch it that much, but I was struck by how many versions there were. There were Serious Andes, Serious Amazon, Serious Arctic, though I feel the series peaked with Serious Black. Totally Doctor Who! This is quite an obscure one. Around the time when Doctor Who was a TV juggernaut, they had this spin-off dedicated to all things Who, presented by the greatest of CBBC personalities, Barney Harwood. He was a gem.
And this is the Totally Doctor Who studio where we like you to feel totally at home and where you can send us some stuff as well. Yeah. Look, I can show you. I can prove to you that you sent us stuff. Here's a picture. It's been sent in by Oliver Force. And look, it's a Dalek and a TARDIS.
Much like Blue Peter, there were competitions, profiles, and some neat twists, like making young fans play a trivia game against one of the actors in the show, like David Tennant himself.
Name Mickey's new girlfriend in the episode Boomtown.
Trisha Delaney.
Perfect.
They'd also give you a preview of the next episode of Doctor Who that was airing at the time.
I'm reaching out, Toby. I'm so close. Don't turn around. Oh, I can touch you.
When I was a fan of this for about 5 minutes in 2006, I watched it a fair bit, but it didn't last long, ending in 2007, after only covering 2 seasons of the show. Now it's lost in time. Let's move on to one of my favourite parts of CBBC, the game shows. And my personal favourite was always 50-50. In this one, 2 different schools would compete against each other in various mental and physical challenges, and the one with the most points at the end would win the coveted glass trophy. I wonder if this thing is still sitting in a school's old trophy cabinet somewhere.
It's 50-50!
Just the set in this show was cool. It was like a giant play area, and so were many of the physical challenges. They were basically giant inflatable obstacle courses, where you had to crawl around and climb up things and collect items. It was just awesome.
That's really, really important that every man through grabs a piece of 50-50 puzzle, otherwise you don't get the points. What a brilliant effort from number 31 there, Yellow.
I always wanted to go on this show and do all this stuff, but my school wasn't nearly that exciting. The mental challenges were intense as well, like trying to get a ball down this giant cube. I wonder if that inspired the real game show The Cube, or that Operation-type game which I was always rubbish at home. There was also a trivia game where they'd show a pop music video from the time, and you'd have to answer questions based on what happened in it.
On the beach, the girls are wearing their hair tied up in ponytails. True or false, vote now. It's false, they're wearing their hair down.
Frankly, it was just an excuse to listen to some cool tunes, and the show itself was an excuse to have tons of fun. Get 100. Here's a lesser-known game show. It only ran for 2 series, but I thought it was a clever concept.
Hello and welcome to Get 100, where the aim of of the game is to get 100.
4 kids compete against each other in a quiz, but the answer was always a number, and you had to answer enough questions so you could get to the number 100. If you did that, then you got to take everything you wanted from the delicious prize pod. Ooh, yes. Look at all those prizes. It'd be a treat to have those now. What I like about this game is that there's an element of strategy. It's no good to go over 100, so sometimes you had to share your points with the others to stop you from going bust.
Let's look at your options. You can keep that 35, or you can give that 35 away. Or you can take that 35 off of one person, and that person is the only boy playing today.
It wouldn't be bad as an adult game show, to be honest. So yeah, this one is a lost gem. Get your own back. Oh yes, this was a show. Hosted by the ever-excitable Dave Benson Phillips, this was a show where 2 kids brought along someone they wanted to get revenge on. A parent, a teacher, you get the idea.
Jason, what's the most embarrassing thing your mum has ever done?
When she's never been bossing me around, she's always telling my friends about the most embarrassing things when I was younger.
They had to compete in all kinds of challenges, but the highlight for everyone was seeing the winning child get to drown their nemesis in the gunge tank.
Your dad's been embarrassing you with his madness, dancing and stuff. Pull the lever, get your own back!
Yeah, chuck him in the gunge. What happened to gunge anyway? There isn't enough gunge in our lives anymore. I want my own back on unimaginative TV producers. Clutternutters. I swear, I'm the only person in the world who watch this on a regular basis. Once again, 2 kids, it's always a pair, compete against each other to see who can get rid of the most stuff from their messy bedrooms.
I hardly ever tidy my room.
Actually, when he does tidy his room, he just checks it all in the corner and that is tidy.
They'd have to clean out their rooms and sell their unwanted items at places like market stalls and online.
When it comes to websites, there are loads of places you can sell your stuff, like Amazon, Hunt for It, Daft Bid and Dealgate.
How trendy. The winner with the least weight left at the end would win a fantabulous prize, though both kids would get their bedrooms redecorated.
Oh, wow. Really good.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
It was like changing rooms for kids, basically. But to be honest, this show was just cathartic for me. Looking at all those untidy rooms and thinking, my room is cleaner than yours. That must mean I've been a nicer boy than you. And you'd always be looking at their stuff and going, ooh, I have that toy. Some of the rooms were just a state, though. I mean, I'd be grounded for life if I let my room go like this. Sort yourself out, man. This show only ran for 1 season, and maybe you can see why, because it was a bit on the cheap side. For anything the kids couldn't recycle, they'd have this giant bin monster for you to throw all your rubbish into. But it's so clearly just a regular bin with someone shaking it from the back. Whoever came up with that is a real nutter. Raven. This one's more of a mystical show, with the titular character, Raven, being some kind of mystical wizard locked in an endless battle with his nemesis, Navar. He'd pick a bunch of kids to be his warriors, and they had to compete in various elimination challenges, until one worthy child was left to take on Navar.
Before this week is out, one thing is certain. Only 2 brave warriors will survive to the final stage of the quest.
That's what made this show so good. It had a story as well as all the fun challenges, and Raven was just a fun character, though everyone always thought he was Barney from CBBC. My absolute favourite thing about the show was the huge obstacle course at the end, the Way of the Warrior. This is maybe one of the most brutal courses I've ever seen in my life. No one could ever beat it. There's all these things hitting you and getting in your way, and you only had to touch the floor once to get eliminated from the show.
Alas, Killal, you were knocked from the golden path and must turn homeward. I bid you farewell, young warrior.
Actually, before I knew what special effects were, I had no idea how they did this. Like, did they really disintegrate the losing child? I thought Raven was a murdering psycho. Years later, they had all these weird Raven spin-offs, like Raven the Island, and I just couldn't keep track after a while. But the original show will always have the heart of a warrior. Beat the Boss. This was a show for the young businessman in you. Hosted by Sarah Khan, who was a runner-up on The Apprentice, she employed 3 young bright sparks to come up with a business idea that would rival the 3 big shots, experts in business. They'd both come up with an idea and produce it, and kids would vote on the best idea at the end. And for some reason, they'd always use the theme from Kill Bill for the intro.
Beat the Boss.
That's cool. I loved seeing all the creative ideas in the show. Like in this one, they had to design a board game.
We have to come up with something unusual because then the children will like it. Maybe something with traps and questions and stuff like that.
The kids even got to go to the toy fair. You lucky brats. Even the adults get to go to Toys R Us instead. I can feel my mental age crashing as I watch the show, but inevitably the kids would always start clashing with each other.
Are you okay, Daniel? Said no one is listening to me. We are listening to you, Ben.
And Sarah was just brutal on them.
What's this? Green coin, blue chance card. Well, what does it do? How do you play this game? What is your subject? I've no idea, looking at that, what it is.
She thinks she's still on The Apprentice. They even get to pitch their ideas to Hasbro. How jammy is that? And look, that girl has Heelys. This show really is a time capsule. Eventually, kids vote on the best board game, and the kids win.
It's the Bright Sparks!
Yes, power to the little people. Boo the grown-ups. The winners get a ride in a limo, but the losers have to stand by a fake bus stop placed outside the studio. No wonder the show always made me want to be a young multi-billionaire tycoon. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. Best of Friends. This is another one I'd watch all the time. A group of 5 friends would meet up to try and score some big treats by picking some sweets from a bag, but it all depended on what colour your tongue was. Red tongue, you go on the treat. Blue tongue, you have to do a task. You know, when I was lying, my nan used to say I had a black tongue. Am I alone there?
Yes, sir!
That's how people review my videos. Some of the tasks included stacking sugar cubes with chopsticks, a bit of a trolley dash, and performing music in front of your parents. How torturous. The treats, meanwhile, included archery lessons, rock climbing, and playing football with a pro. That last one would be a task for me. It was an enjoyable show, if only because you could imagine yourself enjoying these treats yourself. You had to live vicariously through these things sometimes. Hider in the House. I only really watched a couple episodes of this. Each week there'd be a celebrity, and I put that in quotes because you have no idea who they are, and kids would have to help them hide in their house without their parents or family finding out. It's a fun idea, although of course sooner or later someone would wonder why a Z-list actor was hiding behind the back of the settee. Actually, in one infamous episode, the celebrity was caught very early into the show, which kind of blew up the whole concept.
Guys, come here. We've been busted.
Oh dear!
We've been busted.
This is an absolute disaster. For the first time ever on Hider in the House, we've been busted on day 1.
Still, it was amusing to watch. Although my only regret is that they never used Gary Busey as one of the celebrities, because that connection would have been hilarious. School of Silence. This is a wacky one. A team of rowdy kids get brought to the School of Silence to make them into good, honest young members of society. A bit like Holes without the budget. They'd have all these crazy teachers setting them challenges, and frankly, if this school were real, it would have been closed down eons ago. And of course, you need to have the scary headmistress. Don't get sent to her office.
If they fail to keep that shut, I will have no choice but to expel them.
You had to complete 3 classes and a final exam. You fail the classes, you get expelled. But why would you want to stay in a school like this anyway? So the kids get dragged out to the rubber room for their first class with Mr. Gross. I think I had him for biology.
Miss Gobstop is listening at all times on these fluffy little microphones.
They have to unblock some pipes without laughing, which doesn't go well. Then the nurse brings in these dolls. This show is a nightmare. The other classes are just as nuts. Custard pies in the face painting without laughing, and the final exam, where the kids are literally electrocuted to shut them up. Oh yeah, because that always reforms kids so well. And yeah, big surprise, the kids fail.
Expelled!
This has to be one of CBBC's weirdest shows. I don't even know what to make of it. So someone else please make your own opinion for me. You're trapped. Yeah, we like this one in our house. It's the usual kids doing challenges stuff, although this time there's more of a story. This creepy witch has locked the kids up at the top of a big tower, and they have to make their way down each floor by playing a series of games. The twist, however, is that one of the kids is a traitor, or saboteur, whose job is to muck things up for them. At the end of each round, one kid gets voted out until only one is left to escape the tower.
Dion, do not react. You are the saboteur, and you are the only person who can hear my voice.
Some of the challenges involve filling up a goblet without touching the floor, turning all the lights on in the room, and a trivia quiz at the end, usually with the saboteur getting off scot-free.
I made it!
It's a bit of a shambles, but hey, how's this video going so far?
You have failed miserably.
Thought so. The show had a bit of a darker edge, and this crazy Freddy Krueger type henchman to explain things along the way.
The saboteur's been trapped!
They also implied that the kids eliminated from each game would be trapped in the tower forever.
Poor, unfortunate Darren. You're trapped.
But sometimes when they pan away from them, they'd be smiling, like, yay, I'm trapped forever, bye! This one ran on a more technical level to other game shows, because you couldn't even enter it without doing some work at home first. You had to go to the CBBC website and download the Bamzooki kit to make your own cookie creation, known as a zook. You could then send your designs off to CBBC, and if it was good enough, you'd be selected to compete on the show against other kids with their own zooks in a series of challenges. It's always challenges, isn't it?
So off goes Eggy, and straight away gets a good 2 rows down. That's plenty, but he's on his back. So off goes Chopperholic. He has 18 to beat. He's a slower zook, but he's got a lot of legs, and he's already caught a couple of rows there.
I love Bamzooki, and I'd spent hours of fun messing around with the software. It almost reminded me a bit of Robot Wars. You know, the whole building your own creation aspect. It's especially reminiscent of the early series of Robot Wars that had the gauntlet and trial stages, since Bamzooki featured much the same thing, trying to navigate obstacles and such.
This is a whitewash, but Dragonflame's got himself a bit caught there at the end. Is this a chance of weirdo warp? No, it's not. He's over the line.
Great fun, but I never understood how the show actually worked. Like, the kids would be cheering on their creations like they could actually see them, but could they? Was there like a hologram or a screen or something? How did they really film this stuff? I've been wondering about this since age 8. Cartoons now, and honestly, I could go on all day. Just to abbreviate, a lot of the cartoons shown on CBBC were imports from other countries or channels. Like from Cartoon Network, they got stuff like the Cramp Twins, Cubics, Crypto the Superdog, and from Nickelodeon there was Fairly Odd Parents, The Wild Thornberrys, and many more. But since I was already addicted to Cartoon Network as a kid, I tended not to watch these on CBBC, since they'd usually be much older, outdated episodes. Even then, not all the cartoons were to my liking. Some of them were girl-based, like Winx Club and Witch, 2 shows that have just merged together in my head. One I did actually watch was Trolls, though I'm not sure if it was based on the toy. And then there were shows that I can only remember through the haze of being off school with the flu, like BB3B, which was about 2 kids who think their baby brother is an alien. That is a deep cut right there. There was also the Time Warp Trio, about a trio of boys who, as you guess, travel through time. Although sometimes it was 3 girls, and I never quite understood why. Oh, and then there was Yvonne of the Yukon, which approximately -1 people watched when it was on. 2 of the CBBC trademarks were Arthur and Dennis the Menace. Dennis, of course, coming from the classic Beano comic. Used to love reading that back in the day. And what happened to the Dandy? Never mind. Arthur was one of the all-time greats though. As soon as you heard that theme song, you knew you were set for a good hour.
And I say, hey, what a wonderful kind of day. If you could learn to work and play.
The best thing about this show is that it was educational without you even knowing it was educational. You'd learn all kinds of stuff, and you wouldn't have a clue you were, you know, actually being taught something. Arthur was a relatable protagonist, although his sister was a bit of a brat, you know. Mona the Vampire. A great show for the spooky fans, and one of the best cartoon theme songs.
Here's a nice normal girl in an ordinary world. Show us your fangs. Yay, Mona!
That stuck in your head way more than the show. But to be fair, the show itself was fairly creative. It was about a schoolgirl called Mona, who must have been off her head on something, because in every episode she'd hallucinate seeing people as evil monsters, like the bus driver being a crazy maniac.
You better stop this bus right now and leave us alone!
I only wanted the bully boy, but I guess you kids are just gonna have to come along.
She'd rope her friends into helping her defeat them, a word which here means stopping her psychotic episode. They show this a lot on Nickelodeon as well, but I think all the exposure was too much for this girl's mind to handle. I recommend therapy. Ace Lightning. One of CBBC's big attempts to mix both animation and live action, Ace Lightning was all about the adventures of a video game character who comes to life. Gotta love that banger theme song too.
There's a hero, you and awesome.
So this kid Mark accidentally releases the hotshot Ace Lightning into the real world along with all of his enemies.
Lord Fear, leaving so soon?
My foolish foe. You've just saved me the trouble of having to find you.
The CGI here is a bit dated, but then again, if they were trying to emulate the plastic look of games from that time, it's technically realistic. They balance the CG stuff with the kid's life at school and his own stereotypical friends, while Ace would get intimate with the PC. Occasionally, you'd get to see him take on the bad guys, which makes the show quite ambitious. And we do like a good gaming theme. Oddly enough, the show did end up getting its own video game for the PS2, but I have no idea what it's like. Is this worth a review? Let me know. Batfink. This was a strange one. Why CBBC suddenly decided to start showing a cartoon from the 60s, I have no idea. But we watched it all the same. It was about a crime-fighting bat trying to stop his evil nemesis, Hugo a go-go-go-go-go-go or something.
Batfink, Hugo a go-go just robbed the bank! I'm on my way, Chief.
I'm not sure why Batfink needed a car, when presumably he can fly. The most notable thing was Batfink's supersonic beep, which he used to track down the bad guys, although it would usually get into some kind of comical situation. It was amusing. Watch My Chops, a French cartoon known as Corneille and Bernie outside the UK, but for some reason we decided to call it Watch My Chops, to be edgy I suppose. Another banger theme song here.
Watch my chops, shush! It's no joking, the dog is smoking, said, watch my chops.
I always thought this was one of the better cartoons on CBBC. It was about a talking dog called Corneille and his owner Bernie, with the usual wacky mishaps.
Watch my chops. I can't swim.
See, there's your catchphrase. It had some amusing situations, like Bernie trying to teach Corneille how to swim.
Jacques Cousteau, you're not.
Oh, what irony when the guy ends up drowning himself. If the show really wanted to be edgy, then they should have let him drown. That's what the reset button is for in comedy, right? Jakers! I don't know why I'm bringing this one up, probably because I like saying that word. Jakers. This was a CGI show about a young pig having adventures, but it was bookended by the pig telling the stories to his grandkids years later. Why? To fill out the 22-minute slot, I guess. The theme song was actually some pretty solid Irish rock.
Piggly, Bernie, Molly, and Dan, and never miss a chance to have too much fun. In Tara or Rallo, lots of excitement for everyone.
The animation was a bit ropey, but the premise felt charming and wholesome at the same time, almost melancholy in its old-timiness. The show also had a strangely eclectic voice cast, like Mel Brooks as a sheep.
There's gotta be something better than this. A grass that's sweeter, chewier, with a nutty roasted flavor.
There's a fun fact you've learned today. Let's take an interlude for a mo to talk about some of my more random memories about CBBC. Like, remember the startup promo? Sometimes you get up so early, the channel hadn't even started airing yet, so they'd show this extended promo on a loop with all these stock clips from the shows of the time. And like an idiot, I'd watch this over and over again, instead of changing the channel. I think I like the music, honestly.
So much joy.
So much joy. Why do I remember that?
CBBC channel, 7 till 7, 7 days a week, and online all the time at bbc.co.uk/CBBC.
Actually, the promos for the channel in general can be quite bizarre. If you weren't being sucked into CBBC through your TV, then your neck was twisting and morphing into all kinds of elongated shapes. What kind of fever dream is this? I think we took it for granted because of the basement jacks. And speaking of getting up early, during the morning, CBBC would always have a clock in the corner of the screen to remind you when it was time to go to school. Whenever my dad asked me what time it was, I'd always use that clock as a reference, and dread getting in the car to school on a cold winter morning. It's also worth mentioning the in-vision continuity. CBBC would have a real presenter live, telling you what was coming up next.
Such Jolly Japes as Raven, which has just started, followed by Zombie Hotel. Then we got the episode of Blue Peter, which you saw earlier as well.
That's right.
Sometimes they'd have guests on, and I liked it when they read out the birthday cards.
Say happy birthday to Jake, with lots of love to you from your mummy, your daddy, and Ruby as well. And you're 3 years old today, so I hope you have a lovely day. You got a nice big birthday cake waiting, I'll bet. Happy birthday to you.
Used to make me pumped for my own birthday. Also, remember CBBC Extra? It was a red button service where you could catch up on all the latest CBBC goss.
Hello and welcome to this week's Extra Extravaganza. Now keep watching because we've got some cracking jokes for you a bit later on, and we've also got a review of the new Ice Age movie.
There were competitions, games, and even special features on what was the cool thing at the time, like Doctor Who, of course.
I like Doctor Who because it's got great storylines, it's really exciting, there's never a dull moment, and it's got some really cool special effects.
Actually, remember those mini episodes you could download to your phone via text message?
Text TARDIS to 81010 or go to bbc.co.uk/Doctor Who.
They took like an hour to load on my dad's Nokia, but yeah, it's easy to forget how fun this stuff was back then. The novelty fascinated us. Now it's all bland mush. Drama's our next subject, and CBBC was dripping in it. The channel was never short on drama shows with a long heritage, like Grange Hill and Biker Grove, which I didn't really watch as a kid, because they were already in their dying days by the time I started watching CBBC. But if you happen to be off school with some tropical disease on the weekdays, there were also a couple of shows from the 90s you could watch, like The Demon Headmaster, based on the books of course, with that evil head teacher up to no good.
Idle chatter is an inefficient use of energy. Sit.
He always creeped me out. Oh, and then there was The Queen's Nose, a title that mystified 99% of the population, until you realised the show was about rubbing a magical 50p piece to grant your every wish.
I wish for an animal of my very own. It worked.
In other words, you had to rub the Queen's nose. Yeah, it's still pretty weird. I'm just showing my age with these ones. Moving on to something more contemporary, we can't talk about CBBC without mentioning the Sarah Jane Adventures, obviously a spin-off of Doctor Who. This one starred the ever-lovely Elizabeth Sladen, as she recruited kids to battle a cameo from the other show every week.
Kitty Winks, run as fast as you can, I'm coming to find you!
Usually, it was a lot of special effects and running up and down corridors, but it was thoroughly entertaining. Oddly, the goat from the show was one of the dads, because he ran over a monster with a skateboard, and you can't really top that. The show ended up running for 5 seasons from 2007 until 2011, when the tragic passing of Elizabeth Sladen finally saw its demise. But hey, on the bright side, at least Doctor Who is still on. Oh wait. The Story of Tracy Beaker. This was my favourite drama on CBBC. Based on the books by Jacqueline Wilson, this show depicted the highs and lows of life in a children's home called The Dumping Ground. Sounds depressing, but it was actually pretty funny, though it didn't shy away from those darker elements either.
I'm sorry it didn't work out with Ted and Julie. Better luck next time, eh?
If you want me to have better luck, Mike, you should foster me yourself.
But it's not really on now, is it? Sorry, kiddo.
You didn't think I was serious, did you? Ugh. I don't want people thinking I had such a tragic foster dad.
Tracy Beaker is one of those classic characters. We want to see someone mouthing off and raising hell in a show like this.
And I never want to see you ever again! Whoever's in it can pack up that scratching stuff and clear off right now! I asked to be brought back! You were just such a big fat liar!
She could be a brat, but ultimately she had a heart, and that shined through in the show.
Welcome back, Tracy Beaker.
It's like I've never been away.
They'd also have these animated sequences to depict Tracy's dreams in a similar style to the illustrations in the books, which work quite well. Maybe the weirdest episode for me was this random musical one late into the show's lifespan. Tracy falls asleep and has this dream about her foster mother, Cam, taking over the dumping ground as some kind of evil overlord. Everyone's got a song to sing, and they're all acting out of their minds.
Lovely bubbly porridge!
Apparently, Cam is sucking out everyone's spirits and putting them in jars or something? I don't know.
No treats.
No treats.
No sweets.
No sweets.
No chatter.
No chatter.
No clatter.
No clatter.
No telly.
No telly.
No jelly.
No jelly.
This probably isn't the first episode you should watch. The Sparticle Mystery. Okay, to start off, this show wasn't good. The premise involved the sudden disappearance of all adults from the planet, leaving only the kids behind to fend for themselves. It was kind of cheesy and contrived, but to be honest, the Sparticle Mystery is the most important, most notable, and most legendary show in CBBC history. And do you want to know why? Because I was in it. Yes, that's right. Just once in my life, I was on CBBC. Let me explain. When I was a young teenager, I used to do these drama classes after school, but the drama class I went to also happened to have their own talent agency, and they booked me the starring role of being a background extra in the show. Yeah, I just had to stand in the background and look like a mug. I was in the first ever episode, and this was actually filmed on my 14th birthday in 2010. Yeah, this is how I spent my birthday, instead of doing, you know, anything else. So this was all shot in Bristol University, and I'm in this scene where all these loner kids are looking for a place to stay. And look, that's me! See? My less than a second of fame. I also appeared in another episode, which was filmed inside a train, if you can believe it. We had to pretend we were in some kind of seedy bar, because I'm sure that's what kids would do in this situation. And I was so bored, I acted like I was drunk off my head. Look at me downing that Powerade. I've never drunk so much in my life. And yes, they really did give us Powerade. And, you know, I wanted to be cool, so I wore my leather jacket. What a poser. Still, I think this is an important historical record. For just a few short seconds, I was televised live on CBBC to the young viewers at home. And if you're younger than me, maybe you were one of them. There's a crazy thought. Our last segment is comedy, so get ready for some giggles. And CBBC was just as guilty of importing comedy as it was animation. A few of the shows came from the Disney Channel, like Even Stevens, which starred a young Shia LaBeouf, oddly enough. Is that the second time I have to mention holes in this video? And I kind of like the claymation intro, because they used the remote controls like lightsabers. It was the simple pleasures for me. Another import was Lizzie McGuire, starring Hilary Duff, which I didn't watch as much, but I do remember her psychotic thoughts manifesting themselves as animated comedy skits. Some of the more notable shows were Ka-Ching, mainly because it was just fun to say that word. Ka-Ching. Ka-Ching. Yeah, it still holds up. And then there were more obscure comedies like Gina's Laughing Gear, which I have nothing to say about. I just vaguely remember it existed. Stupid! A sketch show about the great King Stupid and his servant Goober.
Just like you do, stupid, pointless things. The difference is, you can't control your stupidity. That's my job.
The king could pull a lever and use his giant TV thingy to watch people being stupid all over the world. Good segue into the sketches. There were a lot of funny skits, like Parents or Prizes, where the girl wins neither presents nor prizes.
How could you be so stupid? Now I've got to send your parents far, far away, and I've got to smash up all these prizes with a cricket bat.
Or the vet who gives the kiss of life to stuffed animals. But the one that everyone knows is Devil Finger.
Now that is getting annoying. I'm warning you!
Devil Finger!
Oh yes. On the school playground, kids would be doing that over and over and over again. It almost made me hate this show. Even the characters hated it, so they... Oh, that's funny. They'd intercut these sketches with storylines like King Stupid upgrading his stupid machine.
I am a computer genius! Sire, don't you think we should install the new update Steve Monarch Support Center 200 years ago? It's on my to-do list.
Stupidity XP. That was a topical joke back then. Honestly, this show is still funny. That twisted sense of humor really holds up. The Basil Brush Show. Basil Brush has been entertaining people for decades, but he made a big comeback in the early 2000s with this show. It had the standard sitcom setup of Basil living in a flat with his mate Mr. Stephen. The, Stephen Mulhern of the show, if you will. He'd try anything to be an entertainer, like his infamous audition to be the next Sonic the Hedgehog. Sega didn't call him back. A lot of the action took place at Anil's Cafe, where he'd always charge extortionate prices for everything.
These new menus, Gordon Blur.
Gordon Bennett, more like, have you seen these prices?
Many of the plots were typical sitcom stuff, like Basil and Mr. Stephen fighting over a woman. Of course, Basil has his signature catchphrase. But he'd also say mush a lot.
3 cups of tea, please, mush.
Oi, mush! Who says that anymore? But this was a chaotically enjoyable show. It was funny, it broke the fourth wall a lot, and frankly, sometimes it could be obscene. This should be banned. Prank Patrol, another one of my personal picks. This show starred good old Barney helping kids to prank their friends or relatives with some big setups.
Joe Barrett, how would you like to make your dream prank come true?
Oh, great!
Congratulations, you're the newest member of the Prank Patrol.
A lot of the pranks were highly enjoyable, though the weaker ones tended to involve the ninjas. Yes, this show had ninjas. They'd go out into the local town centre and trick people with some kind of stall, although for some reason they'd never show you the real audio, they'd just dub over everything with stock sound effects. I guess maybe people were swearing or something when they got caught out. My favourite prank was the virtual reality video game. This poor boy thought he was going to be testing a new VR game, but he got tricked into believing the character in the game was coming to get him. And it did.
Hang on, we're just going to check what's going on.
Terminate program, terminate program, terminate program.
That is a good one.
You've just been pranked by the Prank Patrol.
Oh my god!
This show is still pretty funny. The pranks were creative, the reactions were priceless, and it was just good, clean fun.
I think that is what you call pranks to perfection.
We're almost at the end of our CBBC journey now, but I've saved the best for last, and my ultimate CBBC titans, towering above all others, were the Chuckle Brothers. Yes, Chuckle Vision, come on! Even that theme song is enough to put a smile on my face. This was one of the longest running CBBC shows, lasting from 1987 up until 2009, spanning 292 episodes. It was all about the misadventures of brothers Paul and Barry, two elder gentlemen who could never seem to do anything without causing chaos all around them.
What are you saying about this box?
I'm saying every time you open it, it reverses time.
Sounds like a bit of a song and dance to me.
If you insist.
It was pure slapstick comedy. I always preferred that sense of humour to the more shouty style of TV presenting at the time. Paul and Barry had such good chemistry with each other because, well, they were real-life brothers.
I'd be the master of time itself. I could be a Time Lord. Like that Dr. Chappie.
Who?
That's the one.
And they even used their other brothers, the Patton brothers, to portray their enemies in the show. There was no slacking, who always gave the Chuckle Brothers a job to do.
And remember, no slacking. No slacking. No slacking. And remember, when you work for me, no slacking. How did you know that?
Lucky guess.
And yes, that was his name, No Slacking. Who came up with that? And there was also Get Out of It, who would tell people to, you know, get out of it.
Get out of it!
Do old people still do that? This was one of my favourite shows as a kid. Whenever you came home from school, Chuckle Vision would usually be the first thing on. It just helped you to settle down for the evening. It was like watching two granddads having a good old laugh. We'd go to see the Chuckle Brothers every year at the theatre. They did tons of live performances through the years, which usually parodied some kind of movie, like Ghostbusters or Pirates of the Caribbean.
Are you finished? No, I'm English. That's a funny question.
Sometimes it was even funnier than the show, because they break out the ruder material.
I tell you what, take it away, pin it up, and I'll come and sew it up for you later. All right? Hey, where you go? Where?
There's no way you're going to sew it up for me later, I'm telling you that.
That had me in stitches back then, and sometimes they'd make mistakes.
Oh, there you are.
I'm here.
Hey, I've just seen this on it. Oh.
Hey, Paul. I was going to say we could hide up here behind this, but we can't.
I even met the Chuckle Brothers backstage once and got their autograph, and they were really nice to me. Being 7 at the time, I could hardly get a word out because I was so starstruck, but I'll always remember it. They were a class act. Even now when I'm lifting furniture or something, I'll always say, to me, to you. I feel like a lot of people do that.
To me. To you. To me. To you. To me.
They'd even make their own game show based on the catchphrase in the 90s, which was more like a giant board game.
Welcome back to
to Chuckle Island, another game of To Me to You.
I never saw it because it ended in 1998, long before I became cognitively aware of reality, but it shows how big they were at the time.
See you all again next week on To Me to You. Bye!
Barry might have sadly passed away in 2018, but he'll always be a comedy legend, just like the show itself, and I'm glad to see Paul is still doing well, because when I think of CBBC, I always think of Chucklevision first, so consider this one big tribute from me to you. Well, that's about it for my CBBC memories, but I bet you're wondering, is CBBC still going today? Well, yes it is, and just for this video, I took a look at what the channel is like today, and what kind of programs are they showing?
Postman Pat, Postman Pat.
Postman Pat.
And his black and
I haven't
white
seen this for years. It's certainly changed.
Yeah, times have changed, but the memories haven't, and looking back on every one of these shows is a massive time capsule. I might be getting older, but CBBC keeps the youth in us alive. Now bog off!